there, welcome to the UkeStuff channel and welcome to the full UkeGuide review of this instrument. This is the Enya Moon Taimane signature version blue tenor ukulele with acoustic plus, and it was sent to me by Enya, so this will be marked as a paid review even though I'm not paid to review it. This one was sent to me some time ago and I'm finally reviewing it. We are going to go in depth on this instrument. So if you have never seen one of my UkeGuide reviews, I look at subjective categories that I look at with all instruments. I go over the specifications, and then I summarize the instrument and give it a rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. If that's too much for you, there's a 1-minute ukulele review where I talk about some highlights, and you can actually go to my website, which is www.UkeStuff.info, and you can download the one-page summary, which is everything I'm about to say in this next video, which is usually around 25 minutes or so. So with that in mind, I also want to mention that if you want to support the work here on the channel, there are 2 things or 3 things you can do. First of all, you can like the video. Second, you can subscribe to the channel. And third, you can always buy me a cup of coffee to say thank you for making this content at www.buymeacoffee.com/UkeStuff. So let's begin with the subjective categories, and the first is price. Now, these instruments sell for $4.99 with the acoustic plus in them. There's also a 5-string version that has a doubled low G. And I do not remember if Taimane plays it with a double low G or if she has the octave low G. I'm sure you could switch it. You would have the potential of a vibrating note, but this is the 4-string version that was sent to me. $4.99. And in terms of value, it's a decent value because you're getting a lot here, and there's a bunch of features. Not only do you have the signature model and what Taimane has done to bring in her cultural aspect, reflecting her playing as a player, but also just part of her own heritage. Not only do you have that, but you've got a bunch of other things going on. So you've got the stylized front position markers, you've got the moon on the sound hole, you've got this little engraving up there, and then you have the other things that are true of other models like this of Enya's, like the Enya Nova or the feathers, but you have a solid mahogany ukulele, you have a cutaway here, you do not have a side sound hole on this model. You come with strap buttons, and also radius fretboard, and then you also have the rolled fret ends on each side and really well dressed frets as a whole on these models, plus a rich light fretboard, rich light bridge, bone nut, bone saddle. It comes with a ton of features for that $4.99. You get a decent gig bag, and you get a stylized strap that matches the gig bag in the instrument, and it'll make some crinkly noises here. You also get a cable, an instrument cable that goes with it too. That's a pretty amazing number of things along with those acoustic effects for that $4.99 price point, considering that a good pickup system without the effects is often around the $150 range just by itself. To get a solid body ukulele with the radius fretboard and all that, that's a really decent value. Is it the best value? Not necessarily, but it's a good value. The build quality appears flawless to me. So as you know, it's all painted, so you really can't see anything on it, but it looks flawless. One of the things we do while we talk about build quality is we take an endoscope and we look at the inside of the instrument. So I'm going to do that right now. Here's the endoscope, and we're going to take a look on the inside and see what we can see. There's the label there. Sort of have to work from the side here. There you can see the actuator that does the vibrations that causes the effects. Up here you can see that there is a brace across the top, but if we can get underneath here, you can see the electronics down there. You can see that it's all solid mahogany, pretty decent grain pattern, so it's pretty decent wood as you go through. And you can't really see the strap button or anything sticking through. You can't even really get a good shot of the bridge here, but you can see some of the horizontal supports as well. You can't really see the bridge plate. There's the piezo pickup coming up. Not a whole lot you can see there, but it is cleanly built. Now let's see if we can take a look at the upper bout. We may not see a whole lot. So this is a thin line ukulele. We're not going to get a chance to see a whole lot, but there you can see the sides. You can see some of the bracing. If I can bend up here a little bit, that's the top of the ukulele right up there on the upper bow. But there's not a whole lot that we can see. It doesn't even look like there's kerfing on this model. Now, this all may be CNC'd out of one piece. It's hard to know because we'd have to like be looking at the angle here. It it could be all CNC'd out of one piece of mahogany from that corner there, or it could be glued together, but there's definitely not any kerfing on this particular model. And we're not going to see much more than that, so that's it for our quick look at the inside of the Enya Moon model, which is the Taimane signature blue tenor. As for appearance, I think it's rather attractive. It is on the plainer side, but it does have some nice features, such as that fading bluish paint. I'm a big fan of blues, so that appeals to me. And you have the nice touches of Taimanes as well, there with the fretboard, your moon there. That's all very, very nice. So it does have a few nice little options above and beyond. For example, the Nova Pro plastic carbon fiber tenor. So yeah, it is an attractive, but still on the plain side, but a couple things here and there. In terms of availability, you can buy one of these from enya-music.com right away, or from Amazon. They are available. Now, in terms of playability, there are a couple things that I want to bring up. First of all, it's approaching a 38 millimeter nut. It's not quite there, but the action is within sort of tolerance, but it is a little bit high for my taste. So, for example, I would probably eventually, when I change strings, lower the set a little bit, and then it will probably get me within the spec of what I want. And the other thing that's hard for me is that these are the Dario titanium strings. You can tell they're thick and they're purplish, and for me, they're very hard to play. And I'm a concert player primarily, so it makes the playability a little bit harder than it needs to be for me. And it's also a deep, wide D neck that could have a slightly different profile too. Now, this matches the Enya Nova. In fact, let me pick it up here. Here's the Enya Nova. Other than the sound hole, almost the entire instrument is a wooden version of the Enya Nova Pro tenor, which of course is a larger version of the concert. So it's a thin body ukulele. That's also going to impact the sound a little bit when we talk about sound. But in terms of playability, they made the neck exactly the same. I hope that in my review of the Nova Pro, the plastic one, that I said that I would have liked the neck to be a little thinner too, because I still think that's true. And the Enya Nova Pro tenor also came with the D'Addario strings, which I'm just not a fan of those strings. Some people love them, just they're too thick and too hard for me to press, particularly on a tenor ukulele. So that impacts the playability, but it's not bad. So action's a touch high for me. The neck is a touch deep for me. So it's not the greatest playable ukulele for me, but at the same time, it is playable, if that makes sense. So I'm being very nitpicky here with this. In terms of sound quality, the instrument is okay. It's got good sustain, but it also lacks something. And it's not as good of sound right off the bat as the carbon fiber plastic Nova Pro. I have no idea why, and I'll do a comparison video later because it's the same strings. I'm not sure these strings or this instrument with that mahogany body is happy with these strings. It sounds a little caught. It's not bad. It's just not as good as it could be. Now, again, it is a thin line ukulele, so that's going to impact the sound. But I'm not really comparing it in my mind to a deeper, for example, a Ko Aloha or something like that, or a Kanalea tenor or a super tenor or something like that. I'm comparing it in my brain to the Enya Nova Pro, its own plastic model, and finding myself liking my ear going towards the plastic model. that might be a little crazy. I know this is way more expensive, even with the electronics comparatively, but um, I don't think this instrument likes the D'Addario strings, and I will have to test that eventually. And I also want to see if I can find some lower tension tenor strings to put on this than my normal Martin 620s, because I want this to be super playable and comfortable to play, and I don't want to fight it at all. So that's something I'll be looking at the future as I lower the action here. So the sound quality is okay. The sound quality is fine. It's not bad. It's not soft. It's not loud. It does lean a little bit more towards the dark than the bright. I think because the sound kind of gets caught in there a little bit, almost as if it were a plastic ukulele, sort of a traditional plastic ukulele. But again, other strings might solve that. So I've got some playing to do here, but as it ships, the sound is really the negative aspect. And again, it's not that it's a bad sound, it's just not as good as the plastic version with the same strings. No idea why, but that's just how it is. Another thing I do in these videos is I let you see what I'm hearing by playing the instrument into the app Tonal Energy Tuner and letting you see what happens when I play an open chord such as the C chord into Tonal Energy Tuner and see what happens with the harmonic energy. So here we go. So as you can see, you do get that full spectrum of sound that you'd hope for with a tenor, but the top end fades pretty quickly, and really what shows up are the lower end of the instrument, which again kind of sits with my thought that the sound is sort of getting caught, and again, I think that is probably string related. Something I'll test in the future when I find a set of strings that I want to use. All right, now that we've talked about the subjective categories, let's get into specifications. It is a tenor ukulele with a scale length of exactly 17 inches from nut to saddle. It has 18 frets with 14 to the body. There are side position marker dots, and they are at 5, 7, 10, 12, and 15. There's a double dot at 15. Those markers also exist on the front, except for the 15th. Doesn't have one down there. The body style is a double bout with a cutaway. The soundboard and back and sides are all solid mahogany. I believe the neck is as well. The fretboard and bridge are made out of Richlight. It is a slotted bridge, so easy string changes. It is a radius fretboard, so that is something that you don't get from a lot of manufacturers, so that's a nice benefit on this instrument. The nut and saddle are bone, and the saddle is compensated. So if you were to swap a low G on here, you might want to think about how you want to handle the fact that really it should be compensated further than the C, depending on the thickness of the string too, of course. If you went with a wound string, maybe it wouldn't be compensated as much. I generally try to stick with all fluorocarbons because I don't like the squeak of a metal string if I can help it. The finish is a satin finish, and this is a case where I wish it was gloss. I think it would look really sharp in gloss if they could do it. Don't know if they can. The satin doesn't bother me, but part of me would like to see this in a gloss. I think it would be pretty amazing. The overall length is 26.25 inches, and it weighs 1 pound, 12.2 ounces, so it's hefty. This is not a light ukulele. It has Enya closed geared tuners on it. And here, let's get into the action measurements. So at the first fret, it's 0.69 millimeters. So it's higher than I would like. And the action of the 12th fret is 2.80 millimeters from underneath the string to the top of the fret. So that's on the high end for me. Is it within general tolerances? Probably. Can you play it? Yes. Does it force the instrument out of tune as you play? Not really. So it's within tolerance, but I would take it lower. And in fact, it's one of the not precisely set up Enyas that I've ever played. I'm used to Enyas almost being like spot on, like somebody at the factory works on it till it's there before they ship it most of the time. That's a little bit higher than I'd like to see, and it is absolutely fixable and I'll work on that when I change strings as well. The nut width is 37.08 millimeters, so not quite 38, but getting there. The space between strings at the first fret is 9.03 millimeters between each string for a total of 31.10 from G to A. So it's got good string spacing for people with large hands. You'll probably like that. And the depth of the neck at the third fret is pretty deep. So if you go from the top of the strings to the bottom of the neck, it's 21.40 millimeters. That could be made smaller by lower action, but not by much. It is a pretty chunky C-shaped neck, and it's one of my rare criticisms of this instrument. Don't forget that it also comes with a stylized gig bag that's pretty decent. You also get a stylized strap that matches that bag and the instrument cable. As for the bag itself, looking at it really quickly, you do have one padded strap, you have a lightly padded handle, you have a front pouch, and then it doesn't have anything for like a bumper on the bottom. It's probably around a 10 millimeter padded gig bag, so it's, you know, it's okay. You've got the Taimane signature right there. Oh, I forgot to say that. Taimane signature also appears on the back. And let's see, what was the other thing I was going to say about this? Oh, and it does have the hook strap, which I like to see as well when you travel with a gig bag. All right, now that we've talked about the subjective categories and we've talked about the specifications, let me summarize the instrument and give it a rating out of 5 possible ukuleles. So first, again, let me remind you that Enya did send this one to me. They have sent me a number of ukuleles over the years, so I'm very grateful for that, and I want you to know that, and that's why this video is marked as a paid video. I'm not paid extra, but I am allowed to keep this model, so that's out there. Here's the neat thing about this model. Taimane and Enya did a great collaboration with this because I think this model can appeal to everybody. Her feedback and what they came together, really, it honors her ability to play, but anybody can play this. The electronics function as they should, and I haven't even demonstrated that, but I will really quickly. So to turn it on, what you do is you hold the first button and it will turn a light green there, as you can see, and then you've got your master volume, and those master volumes will reach a point where you'll get feedback, so you got to play with that. One button controls reverb, so if I turn up reverb really high, and I have the other button in the middle because the other one does a combination of chorus or delay, so that one, if you don't want the effect, that one has to be up. The reverb is all the way up or down, so this is all the way up with reverb. And you can hear that it's still ringing. Right, that's reverb. You can take the reverb off and then you can add something like chorus. Chorus basically makes it sound like you're playing, in this case, an 8-string ukulele. You get sort of a distortion of, it makes the notes not quite match, and it gives you what we call a chorus effect. I think I can turn that one up even more. All right, and then you also have the delay. And the delay, the amount is how fast it repeats back to you. That's the most delay. And then faster delays as you approach center. And then to nothing, and then the chorus. And the chorus right now isn't giving me a whole lot, but that's okay. It just makes it sound like you're playing, again, like the strings were a little bit out of tune and you had 2 ukuleles playing at the same time. So yeah, that system does work, and then to turn off, you just hold it. And if you need more effects than what you hear being played through that little actuator, then that's when you put the sound out through an output jack rather than trying to do it here. So, for example, if we were at a campfire trying to entertain people, you'd want a small amplifier for those effects rather than to get it out of the ukulele. So with that in mind, this instrument, the only 2 areas that it, well, 3 areas that it disappoints me, and it's not much of a disappointment. One is that the action is a touch high for me, especially with my past experience of Enya's. Second, the neck is a little deeper than I'd like it to have. And third, the instrument is a solid wood thin line instrument, but the sound underwhelms me a little bit. I want something better, but I'm not trying to compare it to, again, a full-sized, full-body ukulele. I'm comparing it to its plastic counterpart. And I will do a video comparing this one and the plastic Enya Nova and release that and let you hear for yourself and let you think. What I think is that the instrument is impacted by these strings, which are D'Addario titaniums. And I'm just going to say this. Enya used to send ukuleles with their own strings, the E6S or whatever they were, and there were a number of reviewers that complained about the strings feeling too sloppy or too, stretchy. I might have been one of them. Since that time, Enya has tried to move away from always supplying their own strings and moving to things like the Dario. I think we did them a disservice here. In being so negative about their own strings, we've gone the other direction. I would desperately love to try this instrument with the Enya E6S strings that they sell, with that lighter touch and the thinner gauge. I think it would bring out more high notes, and I think that would be better. And then their fluorocarbons instead of whatever nylon mixture fluorocarbon the titaniums are. So I think we've done a disservice to Enya over the years, picking on their E6S strings when I don't think they were as bad as we were making them out to be. And of course, you could always go somewhere in the middle. You could go with like clear worths, or you could do something like Logic strings, or living water strings, or even something like a Martin 620, even though the M620 start to feel a little bit hard for me now too at this point. So long story short is I think the instrument is hampered more by its strings and the sound, but I'll also check that out in a future review or update when I've adjusted some things here on the instrument. Now, the only other things I'd like to see is this is a gloss, and I am primarily a concert player. So I would love to see this in a concert ukulele, just like I would love to see a concert pro version with metal frets of the plastic Enya Nova as well. Yes, I would. That isn't what it is. This isn't available in the concert, and that's too bad. But as it is, definitely recommended. So what rating would I give it? This one for me is a 4 out of 5. And that sounds incredibly harsh for an instrument that I like, but stick with me for a second, it's mainly sound. And that might be as easy to fix as a set of strings, and then that score could probably shoot up to a 4.5. Still have to adjust the action a touch. The neck is still really deep and wide, but nonetheless, 4 isn't bad. 4 means you can go ahead and buy it without even thinking about it. It's not a bad purchase. It comes with a great package. It honors Taimane, and you get the Acoustic Plus package. You get all the features of the ukulele. You get the Radius fretboard. It's a great package for that price. A 4 isn't a bad score. Has the potential to be even higher than that, just with a string change, and I would recommend it to you. So that is it. That's our full review of the Enya Moon Taimane Signature Blue Tenor Ukulele with Acoustic Plus. Thanks so much for joining for this video. I hope you're having a great day, and I'll be back soon with some more Uke stuff for you.